Our next distinguished speaker is a very versatile personality, a combination of chartered accountant and HR expert, CA Rupa Venkatesh. Ms. Rupa is founder director of T8 International, and she currently manages the India Support, Research and Development Center of T8. Ms. Rupa is another chartered accountant with multifaceted personality and has her presence in areas of motivational speaking, life skills development, and penning down her mighty ideas in bestseller books. I was actually amazed to know that she is a cancer survivor, and she offers her constant support to Pink Hope Cancer Group, which work towards building awareness about cancer and supports cancer patients. She is also in Limca Book of Records for her play on cancer, which she has herself written, acted, and directed. She has acted in few Kannada TV serials, and she is a sought-after MC and a speaker at various conferences. Her book, Cancer, a Command, Not a Full Stop, is an excellent book which gives practical advice. We all personally appeal to all of you to buy this book to support the cause of building cancer awareness. Your women will definitely thank you for it. And the proceeds of this goes to cancer charity.
Thank you so much. First of all, a very big thanks to all of you. You actually came back after the tea break. In a sense, I'm seeing a lot of empty chairs, so I'm slightly happy, because it means lesser chairs means lesser questions. But a very big thanks to Anu and to CA Sanjay and to so many others who invited me to this very beautiful part of the world, and who are willing to sacrifice time to listen to something which many of us don't want to acknowledge. It is a part of our life, yet we don't acknowledge it. And the subject, you see, is so representative of that. Diversity. Now, here, if you see, it is hopes and challenges. Diversity is a challenge. But I hope at the end of the presentation you will agree with me that diversity is the hope. So, I hope you will indulge me. And all that I ask of you, not to agree to me, but just keep an open mind. Just accept that there could be another perspective. There was one investment seminar, and where this young man, he saw a stunningly beautiful woman. He went up to her and said, "Madam, I know I look very ordinary, but I just want to let you know that I'm going to inherit 200 million from my father, who is going to die very shortly." The woman smiled, took his business card. In 3 weeks, she met him again as his stepmother. Women are smart, and I don't need to tell you this. So we're going to talk about this subject, which is very close to my heart, is also very close and topical today in the world. And why is it so topical? Because today we are more than ever before, all of us as users of resources are being constantly challenged to get optimal value out of every single resource. Every paisa should go so much more farther. Every human resource should go even more farther in terms of output. And therefore, this becomes relevant. Why is diversity a challenge? And here I'd like to make it very clear that I'm not going to restrict myself only to diversity in terms of gender. There are different kinds of diversity. And I would like to share with you some of the other diversity issues which I faced as head of HR of a very large organization when I used to be working before. So what are these challenges coming? They're coming because of lack of understanding. Lack of understanding of the way other people think, other genders think, differently abled people think. Lack of exposure. All said and done, when we started our education, we had a certain set of exposure. But today we are working in an environment where we have one team in one geography, another team in another geography, a manufacturing facility elsewhere, and we are having to manage all of that. And I speak to you as not only finance people, but as business people. Because all said and done, ultimately it's about business, right? There is also a challenge on account of social structure. Each of us come from a belief, each of us have a certain perspective, and because of that, our conditioning is different. And therefore, diversity poses a bit of a challenge. There is the challenge of diversity is accentuated because of age, and this is more real than you would think. I was advising a company where the problem seems to be, it is a brick and mortar company which now recently has gone to the e-world. So they have managers who have put in 30 years, 20 years, and they have very valuable experience. And now because they have gone on to the e-scene, e-commerce, portals, websites, stuff like that, they have recruited these 20 young somethings. And the way they think is so different. I went to the strategy session. This person who has a wealth of experience, he says, yeah, let us document everything. Let us make out a plan. Let us make out a project schedule. Let us have a plan B. If this fails, what should we do? And the ponytailed young man wearing scruffy jeans and a t-shirt which was torn at 3 places, he says, what plan B? We'll just try it out. If it doesn't work, we'll work on something else. How easily he says it. This is because they come from different worlds. And as managers, we are expected to manage both these teams together. Can you let one of them go? You can't, because they have to work together. So this is a diversity all of us need to manage. There is diversity with regard to religion. This is easier said than done. We all know there are different religions, different faiths. It's okay. People will coexist. Life will be happy. But in India, for example, I have a team. Many of them are of a certain faith, and there are some people who are of a different faith. Or rather, actually, I should say no faith. They say, oh, you people, you Indians, you have too many festivals. Because they don't understand this concept of people coming with, tikka on their head, wearing a black shawl, coming barefoot because they have a certain religious activity to complete. And when someone makes a comment like that, people take strong offense. So this is a diversity challenge. This is again something which we need to manage. Racial, ethnic, cultural, there are so many such diversities which we need to work with. And coming to disability, I want to share with you 2 examples, which I think are very telling. I used to have a manager who used to work with me, wonderful manager, very committed, very loyal, very organized, great team leader. One day he comes to me and says, Rupa, I think I'm not fit for this job. I said, what happened? Now this manager, he had this habit. For everything, all his statements would start with, you see, it is not like this. You see, I think differently. You see, I think you should do this. This was his normal way of working. And very recently, we had acquired 2 people who were visually impaired into the team. And this man used to say, you see, so one of these visually impaired blind person said, I don't see. And it was like a slap in the face for this man. And he realized how insensitive he was. And so he felt, oh God, I have been a failure. I'm not sensitive to my team. See, this is again one diversity issue. And of course, we had to do a lot of stuff. We had to explain to him, it's okay. You have created a habit over many, many years of using a phrase called you see. It's okay. Sensitize yourself, move on. So fortunately, that problem was sorted. And I'll give you one more very recent example. We inducted a group of autistic people into our workforce. You know how autism affects people. They are very smart people, but they have very restricted abilities. And they are very good at doing repetitive jobs. A job which does not require them to think, make a judgment, make an assessment, they are very good at it. They don't complain that I am having to do a repetitive job, as many of the others would do. We put them in the packing department. All that their job was, 10 of them, all of that their job was, a set of labels, a stack of labels is given to them. They take one label, apply the gum, put it on the carton, and out it goes. Very repetitive job. We used to earlier struggle to find people to do this job. But here we got these 10 people, they're doing a good job. One day, somebody else made a mistake and gave them green labels instead of white labels. But being autistic, differently abled, they did not raise any question. They didn't ask anything. Took the label, applied the gum, pasted it. By the end of the evening, 100 boxes were all ready, but they were the wrong label. It caused a lot of loss to the company. Then it became a bit of an issue. And the man who made the mistake, he said, all that they had to do, call me up and say, why are the labels green? Why aren't they white like they normally were? But then you are asking someone who is differently abled to do something which is normally, he doesn't think that way. Now, it is not one person's fault versus another person's fault. These are some of the diversity issues we have faced in organizations. We can go on. The point I'm trying to make is, in an organization, there are different kinds of challenges on account of diversity. And the very important one, of course, is gender. Gender diversity is very important, very crucial, and I'm going to spend the next few minutes discussing about what I feel about this issue. I have been at the receiving end, and nowadays I'm at the giving end. If you look at gender diversity, you will find women are roughly 50% of the population. So ideally we should, this is a problem we shouldn't have. So why do we have it? Only 20% in organizations are having women in management positions. And the numbers get even worse. 13% only in senior management positions. And 3% only in top management positions. So my question is, what happened along the way? What happened when we started with 50% of population? Why is there only 3% in the top management position? I know nobody wants to answer this question because I'm sure you're thinking, how does it matter? And I'm saying this because my own grand uncle, he used to be a business leader, he used to run an organization. He says, you people, you young people don't have anything, so you come up with these new wonderful ideas. I ran an industry for 30 years. I never thought about this gender issue. I only had male workforce. I worked very well. Why are you creating problems when there aren't any? I am hoping to God that you are not thinking like that. And I'll tell you why. But before that, let's put that in the context of some research which has been done. S&P studied the top 500 companies and included 202 companies in this report and said that 150 companies of the 202 companies studied did not have any female directors. And Where companies had more than 2 female directors, the top line improved by 22%. So yes, I am glad some of the women started clapping and the men are following, which is good. But I know before I say this, all of you are thinking, it is not that the women created the top line, right? But before that, before you think like that, let me correct you. The details of the report, which is available actually online, says that these female directors were not just directors on the board, they were actually contributing, participating directors. So obviously they must have had a role to play in ensuring that the top line improved and that the bottom line improved. So people who think that women are only curves should also look at lines. So my question is, isn't this reason enough to convince us that we should start looking at diversity as an important angle? And if you're still not convinced, I hope the next one will help convince you. Let us look at the current business paradigm. The earlier business paradigm was very simple, very straight line. But now we are looking at interdependent businesses. No business can stand on its own today. Today, the interdependency between businesses, between industries, between organizations is so strong that this is the new truth. What is the other truth? That differentiation has replaced competition. Gone are the days when you competed purely on the basis of price. Today, you differentiate your product. You change the positioning of your product. You are actually selling the same item, but you are able to create a differentiation. And that is the new business paradigm. Human resources are more than valued. There was a time when hire and fire was very common, especially in the manufacturing sector. I'm sure if you sat down and spoke with your fathers and grandfathers and uncles, you will agree. I'm sure, like my grandfather said, if I don't go to work without enough adequate reason, I will be fired. I got to go to work. Today, the paradigm is completely different. Today, resources are so valued that people are allowed to take a sabbatical. You tell me 25 years ago, were people given a sabbatical? They were given the boot. Today, organizations actually have a policy of giving sabbaticals, saying, yeah, okay, you seem to have come very close to a burnout. Take a year off, go and holiday, go and do something else, or go and study, come back, your job will wait for you. This is the new paradigm. Communication is becoming increasingly important. Earlier, the communication was only external, only as far as external people, for market, for investors, and that's it. But today, the communication internally is becoming more important. I'm sure you have seen of employees who have told you, I want to go to another company because I'm not understanding what the company wants to achieve. The company is not communicating internally to me. Today, internal communication is becoming so much more important. This is the new paradigm. Persuasive and negotiation skills have become crucial. Earlier, it was my way or the highway. Today, you sit down with an employee and you actually persuade him to change his mind. Today, you sit down with competition. Today, you sit down with people across the table and try to find a better way or an easier way or a different way of doing things. Scarce resources need multitasking. Today, flatter organizations. One person is doing the job of more than one person. Gone are those days when we used to have secretaries who would do the dictation and the writing of letters and posting and stuff like that. Today, we do all our word processing ourselves. We are our own secretary. Today, we go and get the coffee from the coffee machine. We are our own coffee boy. Things have changed. Today, resources are doing different things at different points in time because that is the way business is being done nowadays. Now, why is this relevant? This is relevant because business paradigm has changed. So we need different kinds of skills. So I'm trying to put up here what kind of traits male people, male persons, male gender exhibit, and then a slide on female traits, and then we'll see whether you can match that in the new paradigm. Don't we need the female skills? Don't we need more female skills? Because women are more attuned to a certain set of things, therefore, don't we need more women in the workplace? Now, I'm assuring you I'm not going to do any gender bashing. This is not about men versus women. This is about men and women. And that, I think, is very, very crucial. Nobody in this world can stand up and say, I don't need men in my life or don't need women in my life. It would be a very boring life. The men need the women as much as the women need the men. So let's accept that. Yes, I hope that if I have the time, I will share with you a couple of videos which might be funny, interesting, but I'm sure ultimately it's all in jest. But what I'd like you to understand, the point I'm trying to make is that women who come with different skills bring great value to organizations because of the changed paradigm. Sorry, let's go back up. Okay. Now, don't think that I'm trying to position only the negative parts. There are many positive stuff in this. Men are aggressive. I think all of you agree. There is no doubt. Men are thick-skinned. Well, men are not supposed to be sensitive. For example, I'm sure when you're too sensitive, somebody will tell you, oh, come on, be a man. Meaning men are not supposed to be sensitive. Men are ambitious. Men are competitive. Men compete. And there is a completely different line of reasoning I can provide if I have a one-day workshop which I love to discuss about why men and women are different. Just to share with you one example, I'm sure it will resonate with all of you. Your wife or your mother or your sister tells you, please pass the butter from the fridge. You open the fridge, you don't see it. You just can't see it. It's not here. She says, no, yesterday I kept it there. It's not here. She comes, dropping whatever she's doing, comes virtually by magic. She puts in her hand and she takes out the tub of butter. This is, I'm sure it has happened to you. Those of you who are smiling are, I think, agreeing with me. Must have happened yesterday. Yes. So it is true. Women have certain skills. For example, and the converse to this actually is, the woman can see the tiny tub of butter in the refrigerator even actually without looking. There's a huge garage. She is backing into the garage, the car into the garage. Believe me, she actually drives into the door of the garage. This big a garage door and she can't see it. She will find one tiny tub of butter. She who can't see the garage door will find a thin strand of hair on her husband's coat. So what's wrong? The most easily explained, the most probable reason is that women have better peripheral vision, men have better tunnel vision. And why that came about, of course, that is another story. Men are highly focused. Men are considered to be insensitive. Men are very deft with hands. Typically, when something is not working at home, whether it's a tap or a tube light or something, typically it is the man who generally repairs it. I'm not saying women don't do it. In general, men do it more often than women. So let us say we can consider it as a male trait. What are some of the female traits? Women are better at multitasking. Women are better at communication. I know, when I say communication, immediately all the men start smiling, saying how much the women talk. It is also proven. Women speak about 4,000 to 5,000 words a day. Men speak about 2,000 words a day. But the problem starts when the husband comes home or the man comes home. The woman's 4,000 words starts then. That is the problem sometimes. Women are better at persuasion. And I'm sure all of you agree. Your mother has persuaded you to do so many things. You have found that whenever there is an issue of persuasion, you ask your wife or your sister or your mother to take care of that activity, because you generally believe that women are better at persuading others. Women are better at team building. Women are more, like to do things more together. For example, I'll give you one more example. If 4 women and 4 men are sitting and having dinner, suddenly one of the women will say, hey, I want to go to the bathroom. Will you come with me? And she will ask her other women friends. And all the 4 of them will go as if they are going to a picnic. Do you think this men will do? Men will just simply, silently get up, go to the men's washroom and come back. Women like to do things in a group. This is the way women are. Women are actually more caregiving and more nurturing. There is enough evidence to prove this. 80% of the women, of the nurses in the world are women. Communication again, 85% of the world's teachers are women. So this is all there in black and white. Women are more collaborative. Women are more non-confrontational. They don't like to confront. They'll say, okay, let's adjust. This is normally a woman trait. They are more inclusive and they are more soft and accommodating. Some of these are good. Some of these work to their disadvantage at the workplace. But these are essentially women traits. So, going back to our original question, why do women not come to the top? I put down some of the more important reasons, and this is not only my research. This is based on various forums at which I have been speaking, including the International Women Leader Forum, which is quite active. And we do a lot of research, we collect a lot of data, we speak to a lot of women. In India, we try to speak to them personally. Outside the country, we do a lot of e-balloting. We collect a lot of information where we find women don't go to the top because the promoters are usually, the people who promote the women, or the people from a lower cadre to the next level, they are men. And men will prefer to promote a woman, a man, simply because they understand them better. Simply because they understand them better. And if a woman is in that position, she would prefer to promote a woman, simply because she understands them better. I know some people are shaking their head. Yes, I have also heard this, that women don't support their own kind. Well, maybe it is true, I don't know. I'm telling you, I don't have all the answers here. This is a subject which is so vast. And I speak from a woman's perspective. I've got a woman's head on my shoulders. So I'm telling you what I think. If you agree, that's fine. If you don't agree, that's also fine. That's why I told you in the beginning, I just want you to keep an open mind. So I don't want you to think that I am one of those woman libbers, we're more women and all that. That's not the point. That's not the agenda here. Women don't seek power, they seek responsibility. There was a very beautiful, a very large study done by Beaufort. And when he asked the question, he asked men, when you are promoted, what would you like? The men say, I want more power. Same position. They ask the same question to the women. What would you like when you are promoted? Women say, I want more responsibility. This is how women see a position. Women see a position as a responsibility. Men see that same position as power, as control. And if a man is seeing them, talking to them, he understands that language because he speaks the same language. So he promotes that person. And the third point, which is a very sad reflection, and possibly the reason why it really hurts, is that men are promoted for potential, what they can do in the future. Women are promoted for performance. This is an unfair and biased standard. So hand on your heart, gentlemen, when you go back to work, think, why am I promoting X person? Is it for potential or is it for performance? And whatever you do, apply the same standard to everybody. Women undersell themselves. Any job, any project, any new assignment, make an announcement in the office. 3 men will stand up and say, I will do that. Women will wait till they are selected. Women will not stand up to the plate and say, I will do it. You cannot push anyone up the ladder unless they want to climb themselves. So to that extent, women are to blame. Women don't say, yes, I will do it. There may be different reasons for that, but this is the truth in the corporate workplace. Women want to be recognized and selected, whereas men will say, elect me. I will prove myself. I will do it. So they are more aggressive, and that because of that aggressive nature, they tend to step up to the plate. And therefore, you see more men at the top. So, of course, in conclusion, one may say that women are as much responsible for not rising to the top as the fact that men are not promoting them. So I think all of us have a responsibility to ourselves that if we believe that in the new business paradigm, where multitasking is important, where communication is important, where persuasion is important, where negotiation is important, which are natural skills for women, engage them. This is pure and simple physics. You want a certain benefit, just employ that kind of person. Isn't that what we do when we look for a certain skill? So if in this new business paradigm, this is the way business is done, engage those kind of people. But if life was so simple, life would be so easy. We have stereotypes. In our head, we have a certain kind of a figure. We believe that all women will behave in a certain way, or all men will behave in a certain way, which is also absolutely untrue. Many men behave differently at different times, and women also behave differently at different times. These stereotypes cause a lot of damage. And therefore, all of us, intellectuals, individuals, intelligent people, business decision influencers, business decision makers, all of us should be very wary of these stereotypes with regard to behavior, with regard to what will come first. Men will typically say, oh, if I put a woman into that position, will she put the job first? Or will she put her family first? This is a stereotype. But I personally know so many women, me included, who have put the job first, because at that time it seemed right. Many of you who have working wives will also agree that many times your wife has put the family first. There have been different times and different decisions. So don't submit to the stereotype that all women will put only family first. That may not be true. When it comes to travel, women will not travel. Again, this myth is long gone. Today, on the flight, you will see a much more larger percentage of women. However, it is a sad commentary here. In the morning when the president of the institute made a comment, I was quite excited. That's when I started looking around. He said 20% of chartered accountants are women. So I stood up thinking that I will see a lot more women in the audience, but it sometimes fails, right? I can actually count the number of women chartered accountants here. Yeah, over here. So I'm saying, while this may not be the only representation, I agree. But time and again, you will keep coming up with this, that you find there are lesser women. So the fact that diversity as an issue has not been completely addressed is beyond doubt. But we should also be wary of the stereotypes. It is generally believed that women won't make hard decisions. When it is a matter of sacking somebody at work on account of performance, men generally believe women will not make that hard decision. But that is not true. Ask me. As HR, I have fired so many people, it's not even funny. My nickname at work was Godzilla. It's not that it's something I'm proud of, but then. Women will come late, go early. Women won't stay late. Men will stay in the work even though there is no work to be done. All these are stereotypes. These stereotypes are to be completely warned against. We all have to understand that life doesn't work on stereotypes. Aggression. Men are always aggressive. Women are not aggressive. I'm sure, hand on your heart, all of you will say that not all men are aggressive. True? We are not always aggressive. I wanted to bring this up again because I think this is a very paramount point which highlights the fact that women will use the word responsibility more often than they will use the word power. In general, men will say that they want to have more power, more control, more authority. And men in general will use the word responsibility only 2% of the time, which is very sad, very different. Just some more statistics, because we are all people of numbers, right? So I just thought I'll just throw you some random numbers. 80% of teachers are women, 90% of language teachers are women. And doesn't that corroborate the fact that women are better communicators? When you go home, sit down and think of your language teachers and how much you loved them because they bought literature alive for you. 90% of nurses are women, 10% of pilots are women. What happened here? I'm not talking of, these are not Indian statistics. These are statistics from around the world. Clear, very clean description. Same Lulu, you ask a lady, can you please give me directions to go to Lulu? Let's say you ask me and let's say I know it. Most likely my answer will be, keep going straight on this road. And there you will see one little green building. Don't turn there. Keep going straight, then you turn. Which direction? She doesn't know. She doesn't know the left and the right, right? Keep going straight, then you turn. There you will come to one, you will see one pink building. I don't know how people can paint their houses pink here. But anyway, never mind. You keep going straight after that. There you will see one huge board. There you will see one security guard. Don't take that. That is the exit. So you keep going straight and then you will find the entry. Now you tell me how many of us can follow this. This is not to make fun of women. But you see, women think of items or places in terms of things. Let me give you another example. A man goes to a party, comes home. She will ask him, how was the party? I say, good. So she waits. No more words come. But tell me, how was the party? So he realizes this is a losing battle, so he might as well give the details. So he says, yeah, party was good, party was good. How many people? 175 people. Where did they have the place? No, they had this big hall. That hall, is about 40 by 60. There they had the party. And by the way, tomorrow I'm going for golf. This is how the man describes this event. Same party, a woman goes to the party. She comes home, she's like desperate to share the fact that she's been to this party. Hey, I went to this party. Okay, good. But then she has to tell you, right? So she will tell you. Hey, this party was so nice, so many people. How many people? Hey, lots of people, yeah. And she was wearing this very beautiful piece of jewelry. It was so nice. That day I had shown you at that Kirti Lal, I had shown you that jewelry. Very similar piece. It was looking so nice. And she'll go on and on and on about various other things. This doesn't mean that women are frivolous. This is about women recognizing certain things. Women look at color. Women look at things. Women look at relationships. Women look at these kind of things and pay importance to it. And men don't. This has got nothing to do with men being different, being better or worse. It's not about women pay attention only to the frivolous things. It is the fact that men and women are different. Now, in a workplace, why does this become important? In a position, in a workplace, where it is important for the person to recognize people, to recognize the relationship, to recognize the effort that person has put, to communicate that, you need women in that place. Because men they can't see those things. So how do you help an organization to succeed? You recognize what are the skills which are required for that job and ensure that you put the right kind of people into that job. So when you interview, you look at the kind of people, you look at what kind of skills they come with, and ensure that you make the right match. Okay. 1% of racing drivers are women. I wanted to bring this up, which highlights the fact that women have very little spatial abilities. Spatial ability means judgment of distance and time. Judgment of how fast different objects in relation to each other are moving. And in racing, obviously, it's a very important fact. And therefore, we find that very few women actually become racing drivers. Now, considering we have only 2 minutes, I will first share with you one presentation which talks about how we think things are, whereas they may actually not be that way. What is this? Now you know But play along, indulge a woman. She's come all the way from Bangalore. Yeah, it looks like jellyfish, but it is not. It is actually the crown of the rooster, correct? And where is the rooster? These two children are watching this rooster which is sitting on a fence. Yeah? But no, actually these children are standing on a bench watching this rooster which is sitting on a fence. But no, look at this. This is actually a farm building in which those two children are, who are standing on a bench. Let me not go through all that. It can become tiresome. Turns out it's not the only building. There are more than one building. Yeah? And it turns out that they are not actually buildings. They are only toy buildings. True? Oh, and it turns out that there's a girl watching it, and she's playing with those toys. But no, it's actually, this entire picture is on a magazine. And this magazine is held by this boy who's sitting on the deck of a ship. Oh, but no, that itself is an advertisement, which is on a bus. And this bus is in some important city like Manhattan, let's say. Oh no, this is actually being watched on a TV. See, the point I'm trying to make here is that when you look at something, it appears something, but the item or the appearance may not be the same because your perception will change because of the angle from which you're looking. Let's take it to its logical conclusion. It turns out that this TV is being watched by a man in Arizona and all that which happened before. Oh, but no, that's actually on a stamp. And this is what is happening. The stamp is being watched like this, but all this is being seen from the sky, from the helicopter. So what I'm trying to say is, I wanted to highlight this. Perceptions. We all have certain perceptions. We have a perception that women need to do a certain set of things. Men will do a certain set of things. Women have only these kind of skills. Men have different kinds of skills. We have to change this perception. And that, I think, is most important. Okay, and do we have 2 more minutes? We have question answer. Okay, before we go into a question answer, how many of you would like to watch a fun video? Yeah, let us trade it in for question answers. Kya question puchoge? I've already acknowledged that I don't have all the answers. Yeah, let's play the video, and if you still want me to answer those questions, I think I will, because these questions tell me what you're thinking. And by the way, before you watch this video, I want you to know that this video is in jest. It is not either my thought. I'm sure it is not your thought. It is just something which we're watching for fun at the end of a long day. Believe me, I've been to so many conferences. I've organized quite a few conferences. I've been an MC of many conferences.
Hello?
Who was it?
I don't know. Didn't say anything, just hung up.
Why'd they hang up?
Probably had the wrong number.
Why would someone call a wrong number at this time of night?
Calling the wrong number any time of night.
Why would they pick this number?
I don't think they picked this number, probably just got the wrong number.
Is it a signal?
Is what a signal?
Your friend that called.
He's not my friend.
He's not?
No.
But you said they didn't say anything.
They didn't.
Then how do you know it's a he?
I don't.
But you just said, he's not my friend.
It's just a figure of speech when you say that. See, well, what I should have said was, whoever it was, didn't say anything.
Then why didn't you say that?
I don't know. I wish I would have.
Is that part of your plan?
What plan?
To confuse me?
How would I confuse you?
Very simple. You just said it was a he, when it's really a she. But then you're saying whoever to confuse me.
That's confusing me. She who?
Don't ask me, she's your friend.
There's no she. That's just a wrong number. That's all.
Is she pretty?
Who?
Your girlfriend.
Oh. I know. Oh. Yeah. Look, there's no she. Somebody just got the wrong number. That's all. That's all that was.
Was that a signal?
What?
Closing the window.
Close the window because I was cold.
Well, why didn't you close the window before you got the signal on the phone?
I wasn't cold before I got the signal.
It is a signal!
Look, there's no signal, see? No she. It's the wrong number on the phone. I just closed that because I was cold. That's all. I go to sleep. Oh.
Are you sure she saw that?
What?
The lights go on and off.
Did who see that?
You tell me, she's your friend.
Martha, why don't you just go to sleep? It's 2:30.
How did you know it's 2:30?
That's what the clock says.
Or is it because she said she was going to call at 2:30?
Who?
The girl that's waiting outside for your signals of closing the window and turning the lights on and off. That's who.
Look, there's no girl, there's nobody waiting or anything. That was the wrong number. Do you understand? Now, why in your wildest imagination would I want to even mess around with another woman? You know I love you. Crying out loud. Get to sleep, will you? Gosh.
Honey, I'm sorry. I guess I'm just jealous.
Well, there's no reason to be. I love you. Now, you just go to sleep. I gotta get up early.
I love you too, and I'm sorry.
All right, don't worry.
You open that door and I'll blow you in half.
I'm glad you enjoyed that. At least you laughed and smiled much more than during my presentation, so that's good. A big thanks to all of you for listening, and I very sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, appeal to all of you. Two things. One, at a personal level. One, on behalf of all the women in your lives. I'm sure everyone has many women in your lives. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm sure you have your wife and your mother and your sister and your neighbor's friend. Like mentioned before, there's this book called Cancer, a comma, not a full stop. This book is an experiential book on cancer, but it is not morbid. Believe me, it's quite a practical book. I strongly recommend that you should buy this book and gift it to any woman whom you love. And more importantly, the entire proceeds of that will go into cancer charity. The second appeal, don't pass off gender diversity as a frivolous activity, because strongly I believe diversity is the challenge. And diversity, that is more women in the workplace, is also the hope. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, CA Rupa. We'll be handling just 2 questions due to the paucity of time. What is your opinion about women-only bank?
I can say a lot of things. More than everything, I believe in honesty. So I'm saying a woman's only bank is a great gimmick. Unless that bank can say that I will lend only to women. But that is not what the stated effort is going to be. Because if you are going to lend only to women, you will not be viable, because there aren't so many women entrepreneurs at that level. Because you need, for a bank to survive, it needs lenders and borrowers at different levels. Today, most of the women entrepreneurs who are borrowing are at the very small and micro level. And if the bank were to only lend to them, it won't be a viable thing. So that means that the bank is going to lend to also women. Then where is the question of a woman's only bank? I have debated this question so much, and I have been talking about it, because the subject itself is close to my heart. So yes, I think that at the moment, it seems more like a gimmick than anything else. Sorry for being so honest.
Thanks a lot. The last question for the evening: do women have to learn any lesson from recent Tehelka case on being more vocal and forthcoming?
We don't need a Tehelka case to become more vocal and forthcoming. For some of you who are not familiar with the Tehelka case, it was a case of sexual harassment at the workplace. If women keep quiet, these things will happen. It is necessary to raise a voice against any kind of wrong, not only this kind of wrong. Women should stand up and say, I was not promoted. Women should also stand up and say, I was harassed. According to me, both of them are at the same level. So yes, women should learn from the Tehelka case, but it is an uphill battle. I have been witness to so much, it's not funny. I can share with you some of the gory details of some of the things I have come across. But the fact of the matter is, it requires a very brave woman who would stand up and say that this is what has happened. And I think that all of you men who love the women in your lives, your daughters, your wives, your sisters, please ensure that you offer the kind of support which is required in those kind of cases.